Do you know what? Michael, look, let me ask you this question straight from the off, okay?
Yeah, go for it.
I personally am not going to blame Ange, right? Now, Josh is 100% allowed to blame Ange for tactical deficiencies, whether it's for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 45 minutes against Chelsea. There's a lot of fans that agree with Josh, by the way. This isn't just me going, it's my way. No, it's your way. No, there's a lot of people that are divided on this one. But for me personally, and I want to hear what you say because it's a fan calling show, as soon as we lose under any manager, criticize, blame, and then it becomes an issue. And then it snowballs into a constant until it's Poch out, Conte out, Jose out, Ange out. People are allowed that opinion. I'm just sharing what I see in my view. Michael, do you blame Ange for today's loss? Do you think even for 5 minutes he's at fault? He should have changed the way we play?
Nah, I don't blame him for today because we often say that good managers don't change their approach to the game, right? We say it about Klopp, Pep. I know they sometimes tweak things tactically, right? But the principle stays the same. So for me, it's not Ange's fault that we have like half of our first 11 injured or out with suspensions, right? That's partially on the players, partially on some things that we do not have control over, right? But I just don't agree with saying that because we have Dyer and Davis in the back that we should suddenly start playing harambol and sticking five in the box and doing 2 banks of 4 or whatever, right? I think maybe there were some things personnel wise I would do different today as a starting 11, right? I understand why he decided to choose the personnel that he did, because after all, even though we don't like Davis and Dyer, they are the senior center backs in the squad that are fit right now, right? I hate to say it, right? I hate the fact that it is this way. I would rather see Alfie Dorrington or Phillips, right? But it's not illogical to call for your senior center backs to step up when they are needed, right? And for me today, listen, we didn't deserve a win, definitely, and I don't even think we deserved a draw today. With how we played, with how we were going forward, I think we just completely lacked the creativity, completely lacked the energy, even the courage, I would say, to make a progressive pass, to try to take on a player. I think not many of our players today on the field wanted to actually go forward, and I think it's reflected in the stats. We had more possession, especially in the first half, but we didn't really do anything with it, right? It was just pinging the ball around the back. I think there is this saying that we played walk ball, walk the metal thing that you cook food in. This shape. Walk. We basically play walk ball, right? From the left back to the center back to midfielder to left back to right back, and all that stuff. And walk ball. And listen, the tactics were there. I think
that's brilliant. That's genius. That's genius. Walkable.
I think the approach from the manager was the same, right? It's just that the personnel was different. And I think, listen, I might disagree with playing Sarr in a 10. Maybe I would rather see Lo Celso there, but would Lo Celso do a better job? I'm not sure about that, right? I actually think that possibly not much would have changed, right? And with Dyer and Davis, how many more times are we supposed to say that they are just shit and they are not good enough to play for this club, right? But unfortunately, it's the case today. We cannot do anything about it. It's either them as senior center backs or playing 2 kids who just as much who can make the same mistakes. But the difference is those guys are senior. We can we can just criticize them. They will take it, move on, right? Whereas with kids, I think that you take a huge risk with hampering their development if they were both thrown in today to the deep water and imagine they dropped a stinker, right? And everyone would say, "Oh, this Alfie Dorrington kid, he's useless. He's not good enough for our academy," you know. And
Yeah.
it's a much different approach for me than with senior guys, right? So no, I'm not blaming Ange, but yeah, I just don't think we deserved it today. And also, one thing I have to say about this game is, and serious, I'm sick and tired of talking about this, but the standard of refereeing is fucking dog shit. Like, and I'm not saying that we didn't, like, get a penalty, or we got a goal disallowed that wasn't
This
there,
ref
right?
was okay. This ref was quite good.
I'm not sure, Stelios. I think if we are getting rugby tackled for 94 minutes and their first yellow card is in a 94th minute, that's ridiculous for me. We got 3 today. And deservedly so, right?
Yeah, the
I'm not saying
Basuma
that.
one wasn't a yellow, though. I don't think Basuma's was a yellow.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. That's even more to my point, right?
I agree with you there. Yeah.
Did you see the 2 tackles that Dawson did on Son, and he got the yellow only when he stepped on Son's balls, right?
The one in the face looked like a yellow card.
Literally, he just slapped him in the face and then just slapped him again and threw him on the ground. And it wasn't even a fall. It wasn't like checked. It wasn't given a yellow card. Nothing for it, right? And I'm not saying he deserved a red card, right? I'm just sick and tired of our players getting absolutely kicked the shit out of, and the referees do not react. I'm saying that, for example, let me give you a different example from a different game, right? When we played against Fulham, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Palhinha faulted Maddison like 4 or 5 times, and he didn't get a yellow card, right? Because he's not getting a yellow card, he can just keep kicking the shit out of him, and and nothing changes, right? We don't get an advantage. If Palhinha is on a yellow card in that match, then Maddison has more freedom to move around, more freedom to do something, right? Same thing today. I don't understand why Dawson is just allowed to pretty much punch Son in the face. Not punch, but shove him in the face. He doesn't get a yellow card for it, which means he can just keep bullying him, right? And fair enough to Dawson, he kept him quiet today. But for me, I just want yellow cards given, like, for obvious fouls, and there were plenty. I think Wolves had like 19 fouls before they got their first yellow card. That's and listen, again, I want to caveat it with, we didn't deserve anything, in my opinion, from this game. It's just, I think I would like to see opposition players getting yellow cards. It's just a bit tiring for me. Same thing happened with Ayew against Palace, Palhinha against Fulham. Chelsea, they weren't getting yellow cards in that game, pretty much, right? So, yeah, it's. Yeah, but okay, let's talk about the game.
Listen, Michael, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Look, personally, I thought the referee actually had a good game, but you're right. The incidents you mentioned, it does impact the ability of the opposition to keep getting away with stopping us, because they're not being punished. Whereas as soon as Basuma's in a yellow, he knows he can't put another big tackle in that midfield, because he might get sent off, right? So yeah, no, listen, it's a good point. It's a fair point.
Yeah, again, like, I'm not saying we should have, like, they should have had a red, whatever, right? It's just, I want to see yellow cards given for, like, repeated offenses, right? If you are fouling the same player for the 3rd, 4th time, it's like an accumulation of offenses, right? You should be given a yellow in that instance. But yeah, sorry, Stelios, I went on about referees, right? But let's talk about the game itself. Like,
listen, you can talk about whatever you want. You're the fan calling in.
Yeah, but because actually, I just jumped onto the stream. What was your opinion about the game? I know I'm the calling guy, right? But
my opinion, I thought Spurs were rubbish, but I didn't expect us to be good. I predicted a loss today, because I just don't see how a team with Chicken Royales, Dyers, all the players that this manager came in, watched in pre-season, said, right, you're all dropped. We can't play Ange ball with this. And who have hardly ever played this season, suddenly we're saying, right, we need you now, because we didn't do enough in the summer to replace enough players. Some will argue, how much business can you do in the summer? Others will argue, well, how much money are we making? We sold Harry Kane. Where's all the replacements? What? By the time it takes 3-4 years, we're going to lose players because they're going to be fed up, and then we're replacing them as well, like we've done with Kane. Kane left because he's not doing another project. So I just think that we were never going to do well in this game. because of I know what these players are like. They've let down every manager before them. What, Ange is such a great guy that they're all going to suddenly become Messi? No. I think Ange, Mike, is the best manager we've had, better than Poch. I think he's better than Poch. But I just feel that, like every other manager, there's only so much you can do with what you've got. You need a certain level of quality to fulfill what you want to do. So, yeah, I don't think Spurs played well. I think we had 2 or 3 really good moments where the way we passed it out from the back and got through, there was, you know, the shot that Brendan Johnson he hit it edge of the box and it went wide.
Yeah.
That would have been a magnificent team goal. Like, there was moments where I thought, brilliant, Tottenham, brilliant. But as soon as the pressure piled on,
yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm used to with these players.
Same players that always shit the bed, they just shut the bed again,
Exactly.
right? It's like nothing new. I was watching this game with my friend, right? He supports Real Madrid, right? And like literally, I saw Ben Davies, Eric Dyer, Emerson Royal on the pitch, right? Wolves brought on Matt Doherty, right? Matt Doherty got subbed in like 60th minute, right? And I turned to my friend and said, listen, they should call Clement Longley for him to drive from Birmingham to Wolverhampton, and we would have had the whole Conte defense in the pitch, right?
The band's back together.
The band is back together, right? Like, I honestly never expected, before the season started, to see Eric Dyer, Ben Davies, and Emerson Royal in the same team as a starting 11, right?
And Højbjerg DM.
Fury and Højbjerg DM, right?
Yeah.
And listen, Højbjerg had like a below average game, in my opinion. Nothing like he played like in the previous, a couple of matches, right, where we actually praised him for quite solid performances, right? But overall, it was just the same shit again, right? It was just like watching Conte again. And listen, I just hope that, when Romero and Udogie are back, that we will stabilize this team again, right? But I'm not fucking looking forward to Villa and City. Jesus Christ.
Do you know what the worry is now? The only way I think we can survive the next month and a half is if Ange changes his ways. That's the only way I see it happening. And I can see fans that will begin to say, oh, if you're an elite manager, you adapt. But like you said, Pep doesn't adapt from his football. Klopp doesn't adapt from his football. Yeah, they tweak a few things, but they don't adapt from their philosophy. And if you do that, then don't bring in Ange. Get rid of him now. We might as well get rid of Ange now. If we're not going to do it the Ange way, get rid of him now and bring in someone that's going to do exactly as the fans say. Whenever the fans say jump, the manager jumps. Whenever the fans say turn left, the manager turns left. Because otherwise, this is the beginning of it all going wrong. But I know Ange isn't going to do that, Mike. Ange isn't going to change his ways because we're going to have a difficult month and a half. And this is now going to come down to the board. So tell me what you think. I hate talking about them because I don't like them. But Arteta is challenging for a league title again this year. That team will challenge for a league title, right? They did it last year, they did it this year. But on that journey, eighth, bottling quarterfinals of Europa Cup against lesser opposition, bottling top 4. Are we as fans going to stick by our manager when we need to go through that? Because we are going to go through that. And is the board gonna stand by it?
Stelios, I've seen a screenshot of some idiot from Twitter saying that maybe we should start questioning this manager because the performances against Fulham were average. We got battered by Chelsea. Now we lost against Wolves. Like, are you fucking out of your mind? Like, I don't get what these people expect to happen, right? Before the season, all of us were like, nah, man, like 8th and good football is all I want, right? 8th, just, stay top half of the table. Don't be embarrassing. Like, show us some progress, right? We'll all be happy, right? We'll all be happy. If we get to Conference League or Europa League, it's fucking brilliant, right? And right now, we went 10 games undefeated, right? Now we had like one of the worst games I think I have ever seen with Chelsea, right? With 2 sendings off and 2 major injuries, right? To our like starting 11 players, right? This team went from being stabilized, playing well, to complete fucking bullshit, right? in a space of 90 minutes, or I guess 111 minutes, because there was like 21 minutes of added time in that game, right? But in a space of like 2 hours, this team went from like really good first 11 with some, dodgy substitutions, right? But it was acceptable to playing fucking Eric Dyer and Ben Davies in the defense, right?
We went from hero to zero.
Exactly, right? And right, and we lost to Wolves, which was as expected. They are not a bad team. They are playing well, right?
They're good.
Especially at their own ground, right? And suddenly people are like, we should question Ange. He was like shocking decisions by Ange today. He should have played, I don't know, fucking Jamie Donnelly or Alfie Dorrington as a centre back and Jamie Donnelly as a 10, right? Because that's an obvious answer, right? You have senior players, you have to play them pretty much, right? Because they are senior players, they have the experience, and they should, at least should, perform up to a certain standard, right? It's ridiculous for me to blame Ange. And with your point about Arteta, right? I think COVID saved Arteta's ass, right? And it's not only it's not something that me and you say. It's something that Arsenal fans say, right? That if they were there in the stands at the Emirates watching them getting slapped 3-0 by Aston Villa at home, right? I don't think Arteta would have survived. But because he had that time and patience from the club, I think that's what allowed them to go through this process, go through the hard times, right? And I want us to do the same with Ange, right? And I want our fans to show patience. And I actually think that the club will show patience if we as fans do, right? But if we start turning on Ange and saying Ange out because we lost to Wolves with Eric Dyer and Ben Davies in defense, then like what are we supposed to do in that case, right? Nobody will have enough time in this club to survive that period, right? If we turn on a manager after losing 2 games because half of our squad is injured, right?
Michael, I think it's going to get worse. I don't think we're going to beat Villa, and I think Manchester City are going to destroy us. I don't see. I'm in this world of where I really, really think we can beat them. I'd say it, but I don't. I'm looking at today's performance, and I think Villa are better than Wolves. So I think,
yeah, of course they are.
Right? Yeah. In fact, let's look at the league table.
6th or 7th, Villa.
Right, Aston Villa are 5th. They're 5th. They're currently 4 points off of Spurs. Okay, they don't have an injury crisis and suspensions like us. So for me, they're the better team coming to Spurs.
Of course.
So in my head, I'm going to say loss. I hope we get a draw. I pray for the win, right? Of course. Man City, Harry Kane's not there. Our best defenders aren't there. We're not beating City. Anyone who thinks we're going to beat City, listen, good luck. I hope your dreams come true. And then it's West Ham. West Ham at home. That's difficult. But Romero's back. So at least we've got Udogie and Romero in the back line. So you'd say, do you know what? We can give them a game, right? I think we can give them a game. So I don't know about that one. But the next couple of games, I think it's so difficult now. Like really difficult.
Yeah, like for me, Villa and City, like, guys, prepare your anuses because it will be ugly, right? That's how I see it. The only thing with Villa maybe is the fact that they play an extremely high line, and one thing that they struggle so far with is balls over the top played into like quick strikers or quick wingers, right? I watched them against like 2 days ago against AZ Alkmaar. I think they played. They won the game 2-1, but one of the goals that AZ Alkmaar scored was exactly what I described. Long ball over the top, and they didn't have the pace in their center backs to catch up to the strikers. The striker finished the goal, right? So we have something that we can exploit there, right? It's just whether we will be capable of holding out defensively, which I think we won't, right? Not with Eric Dyer and Ben Davies. Even if Udogie comes back into the squad, right? We still have like 2 absolute bums of center backs, right? They just won't perform. They will crumble again, right? And we won't, like, I think the only way Eric Dyer and Ben Davies can even like attempt to play is when they are just tasked with camping in their own box and defending headers and just kicking the ball out, right? That's the only defensive action that they can do to a relatively average level, I would say, because they are not even good at it, right? So we won't play that, right? We will try to play the high line because that's the way that we play, right? But I don't think Ange should be changing the way that he wants to play, even though he has those guys. That's a really peculiar situation, right? Because like the logical thing maybe would be to drop the line and just try playing more defensively. But on the other hand, you want to imprint your style on the team, right? And I think I can take losing to Villa and City on the chin if we stick to our football and we actually play what we want, right? Even if we die trying, right? I would rather see that than us playing like Contable again, right? It's not something I want to see. I've had like 4 years of this shit, right? So I want us to progress from it. That was my initial thing that I wanted to see in this season, was us progressing to an offensive style of football, right? And listen, Dyer and Davis, they will be gone soon, right? Dyer probably like in January or in the summer, right? Davis, I don't think he has more than 1 year in this club, right?
Yeah,
So
he'll be
I
gone
think
in
they
here.
will be gone. They will be gone eventually, right? It's just that
It's
we cannot
what
be too
happens,
reactionary.
Michael.
Yeah.
It's what happens between now and then, though.
Yeah.
That will define it. Like people that say, they want Ange to change. No, why don't the players? Why don't we change the players we've got? Because that's what held back all the previous managers. And people that are saying, "Oh, we're not talking about changing tactics. We're talking about game management." Game management is part of your tactics. Tactics isn't just the formation. Tactics is game management, substitutions, the way you set out your team, the way the defense plays, the way the midfield plays, who you choose to be the captain, why you're doing that. It's all tactics. All of this is tactics. So if you don't like what you're seeing, Spurs fans, this manager's not going to turn. So if you know, and this is what I'm saying to every Spurs fan watching this show right now. If you don't like the way Ange manages situations, he's not going to change for you. So either get used to it or you're going to be Ange out because you don't like what he does. Which one are you? Ange, stick to what you're doing because I know you're not going to change, or Ange out. There is no middle ground here. This man hasn't changed at any club he's been to. He did the same thing in Celtic. He went down to 10 men in Japan and went all out, and they won a cup doing it. This is his identity, man. So I don't know. I don't know what else fans want to hear.
It's again like, what do people expect, right? They want attacking football, but they are pissed off when we play attacking football, right? And listen, I understand the criticism during the Chelsea game, for example, right? I understand that the logical thing would be to like drop the line and play defensively with 9 men, right? Especially because we saw a world-class manager do that, right, in Jurgen Klopp against us, right? And it seemed to work. But that important thing is what you pointed out, that they had Van Dijk, Matip, and Konate on the pitch.
3 centre backs. Yeah,
3 centre backs, 3 defensive or 3 like centre mids, 2 wide backs, right? It's a much different like setup to what we were capable of putting out there, right?
We had Chicken Royale at centre back.
Exactly, like or Højbjerg, right?
And
Højbjerg, I don't know which one is worse. I don't know which one is worse, right? Højbjerg or Chicken Royale as centre back, right? So as mad as it was, as mad as what Ange has done during the Chelsea game, I think in a strange way it was the right thing to do. It was borderline stupid, but it was the right thing to do in my opinion, right? But with this game, right, I actually think with the personnel that we had on the pitch today, I think Wolves were better in the midfield, and they just bullied our attackers, were better in the midfield, and we had a backline that was incapable of passing it out of the back, right? I think the fact that we struggled so much today was because we had no one in the defense or even in the midfield to some extent that was capable of taking the ball and progressing with it, right? Progressing with either with passes or by dribbling, right? I think Bissouma didn't have a good game today, and by the way, it's like his third or fourth in a row that he isn't really like up to the standards that he
Michael,
showed
can
at
I
the
quickly
beginning.
ask you something on this?
Yeah,
I want to ask you something on this
go
because
on.
Ryan, I can't remember who it was. Someone called in earlier. I think it was Ryan or Ariane. They said that because Bissouma's been one yellow card away from the suspension, he's not quite been himself. But now the suspension's coming and he's going to start back on a clean slate, 0 yellow cards. Do you think when he comes back after Villa, so Manchester City, we'll see the Bissouma that we know again? Or do you think, no, it's got nothing to do with that?
I hope. Honestly, I hope, Stelios, that we see him back to what he showed us during the first couple of games, right? It definitely pays like it definitely takes his mind off of like being more aggressive and more progressive and trying different things because he's so close to a suspension, right? But unfortunately, like he got the yellow card today, he will be suspended for Villa, which, by the way, I don't know who will we play in that midfield. It will probably be like what Sar, Højbjerg, and Bentancur doesn't seem fit enough to play 90 minutes right now. So who, Skip, Lo Celso? I'm not really sure, right? But yeah, I just think this team that we had to put out today was not capable of winning that game. I think even though I still think we did relatively well with trying to hold on to that 1-0 lead that we got. And by the way, I think it was a brilliant goal that we scored. But yeah, I just think we tried our hardest to hold out, but we didn't, right? Because the usual suspects did what they usually do, right? That's not really. So if we had Van de Ven and Romero on the pitch, this game does not end like it did. Like that's I know that's an obvious thing to say, right? But unfortunately, we are in such a situation, right? Romero got red carded, Van de Ven is out until January or more, so we have to deal with it, right? And I want us to deal with it. Like I am prepared to lose. As I said, I am prepared to lose. So yeah, they just like I hope our fans are too, right? Because I know you know that sticking with Ange and letting him do what he wants will bring success. I'm not even talking about success in terms of like winning trophies, because that's like far off in the distant future, right? And I don't want to talk about trophies, don't want to bring like such a heavy burden onto his shoulders right now, right? But what I want us is to stick with this guy and let him build and let him do his thing, let him imprint this philosophy onto this team, right? Because actually, when you look at that squad, right, when you look at the signings that we made, Mickey Van de Ven, Brennan Johnson, even Solomon, Madison, all those guys, they came here with a clean slate, or how do you call
Vicario,
it?
he's good playing
Vicario,
out from the back.
yeah, clean slate, right? That's the saying. They came here with a clean slate,
Yeah,
and Ange is imprinting his philosophy onto them, right? Whereas those players that have been sitting here for 8-9 years, right? Some of them, because like Son adapted well, in my opinion, but Son is a borderline world class player, right? But Eric Dyer, Ben Davies, even Højbjerg to an extent, Emerson Royal, who had like 4 or 5 managers already in this club, right? Those guys are used to playing the old way, right? They came to this club with clean slates and they got imprinted with Conte ball, Jose ball, right? Sitting back, playing on the counter, you know, not making progressive passes, doing everything safe, right? And it's hard to change those players if they are used to a different style. If they are good enough, they can adapt, like Son, right? But some just are incapable of adapting. Eric Dyer is 30 years old. Ben Davies is 30 years old. They are what they are. They won't change. They won't suddenly, like on a flick of a switch, become like, players capable of playing out of the back, dribbling, it's just not them, right? I don't think like I think Eric Dyer in a different team might not be a bad defender if you play to his strengths, right? But not in this team. Eric Dyer now in this team won't be a good player and will never be a good player, right? So I think we need to we need to give this manager time to do what Poch did, right? Which is get rid of the players that are not capable of playing this system and bring in players that do, right? There is a lot of talk about Lloyd Kelly, right? And many people are underwhelmed by us like looking at him, right, and thinking he might be a good like prospect center back, right? And I'm one myself. I don't think Lloyd Kelly is a good player, right? Good in terms of like something that really tickles my inner. Oh my God, we are bringing in a good center back, right? But if he's young and he can be molded into like a good squad player that can do a job similar to Van de Ven or Romero, not as good as them because he won't be as good as them, or maybe he will, right? But most likely he won't be as good as them. But if he will do a similar job to those two guys, then we have to give Ange time to bring in players like him, right? To bring in players that will all be capable of playing this system. But if we right now, after losing 2 games in a row, we are on 26 fucking points, Stelios. After 12 games, right? After 38 last season, we had 60. We are already at a half point, pretty much, right? After 12 games.
Yeah,
So
I'm looking at the league table now.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the league table now. If Liverpool win their game and Man City
Yeah.
win their game, we'll be 3, 4, 5 points off the top, 1 point off of second, and we'll be 4 points off the top, 1 point off second. We'll go into fourth. If Aston Villa win, they will go 1 point behind us.
Yeah.
So we're still in a really good position. It's just this one, we just need to weather this storm. But my issue is this storm doesn't end until January. We've got 8 games. And that's assuming, Michael, all the new transfers come in early. One question I've got for you very quickly, actually, is Bissouma's now suspended for the Aston Villa game. Who's your 3 that you start in midfield next game?
Fuck me, that's a hard question. No, I think it has to be Højbjerg and Sar, and we have to think about the third guy, right? I from what I saw of Bentancur in the previous 3 games, I don't think he's quite ready to play 90. I don't think it would be wise to put such a high strain on him to play 90 minutes, right? So I think it will have to be Lo Celso or Skip, one of those two. And honestly, as much as I don't like Lo Celso, as much as I have my issues with Lo Celso, I think he's the closest thing to an attacking midfielder that we have in this team. So, give him a go, right? He was performing in Villarreal when he was on loan there. Apparently, Unai Emery wanted him in Villa, right? So maybe there is something there. Maybe if we give him time, like starting from minute 0, maybe he will show us something. He won't be as good as Maddison, right? And probably never will be. But I would rather see him there than Sar playing 10 again, like he did today, or Højbjerg playing 10 again. Like I don't think those two guys are capable. With Lo Celso, at least, not in Spurs. No, he didn't show it here, but in the other teams when he played for them, he showed the quality to be a number 10, right? So I would probably put Lo Celso there. But yeah, Stelios, like we have 8 games to play, right? But as far as I know, it's like, as you said, Villa, City, West Ham, and Newcastle, right? Those 4 are the worst one. After that, I think we have like Forest, Everton, Brighton, and someone else, I think. Which are also, of course, those are not easy matches, right? But I think they are at least manageable. The next
fixtures
4
are Villa at home, Man City away, West Ham at home, Newcastle at home, Forest away, Everton at home, Brighton away, Bournemouth at home, and then it's the 2-week January break. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 8 games to play, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Bear with me. 4 are against teams in the top 10.
Yeah.
And 4 against teams in the bottom. Wait, in fact, where's Brighton? 1, 2, 3.
Brighton is 8th.
Where's West Ham? West Ham. Oh, they're 13th. Okay, yeah. 13th. So 4 from the top and 4 from the bottom.
Yeah, I think those like next 4 games are manageable. Brighton, Everton, Forest, and whoever else was the 4th team that you mentioned, right?
Brighton
I think
away.
Those games are manageable.
Brighton away with our team.
Like we will have Romero and Udogie back by then.
Good point.
And let's hope.
Good point. No, great point. Great point. Yeah. Yeah, we
yeah.
do.
So because like Villa and City are write-offs for me, right? If we lose them both, I won't be mad, right? Like, sorry, but you have to be realistic, right? Like, if anybody thinks we are doing anything at the Etihad, you have to check your fucking head, right?
Michael,
We are not doing anything at
it's
the
gonna. Do you know what? It's gonna happen, isn't it? We're gonna lose to Wolves. We're gonna lose to Villa. Then we're gonna go and beat Man City. I swear to God, if this Spurs team beats Man City, we have got the biggest juju, voodoo, whatever you want to call it, on Man City. That is the final confirmation that we own them. You know? But yeah, I agree. Though we're not going to beat them. I don't see it.
I think one thing that saves us a bit is the fact that West Ham and Newcastle are at home. And if I remember correctly, because I checked Newcastle's fixtures, I think we played them on the weekend. And I think like 3 days after, they play AC Milan at their own ground. And it is their last Champions League game, which might mean that they will have to like either rotate a bit, because maybe they will have.
They'll need that
they
to
will
stay
still
in
have
Europe.
to still stay in Europe,
In
right?
fact, they've got Chelsea, PSG, Man United, a resurging Everton, Tottenham, and then AC Milan. They've got a horrible run coming up. Newcastle.
Yeah. So I think there is a slight chance that Newcastle will be tired and they will have to rotate. And we play this game at home. So I don't think it's as bad as it looks. I don't expect us to win. It's not like I'm saying that we will definitely beat Newcastle, right? But I think it's not as bad as it looks. And similar thing with West Ham. I think they also have like a hard fixture before us. And I think they play in Europe after us or something like this. I don't remember off the top of my mind, right? But I think there is a possibility of us like doing something in those games against West Ham and Newcastle, and then the next 4, I think we'll lose some, we'll win some, we'll probably draw some, but I don't think it's as bad as
we
maybe
we need to stay in that top 4-5 going into January, and then it's over to Levy, Ninik. So, Michael, listen, brother. I've got to say goodbye, but thank you. Great call. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
You can have the final say.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I just hope that people are patient with this shit, right? Because, like, the things that I saw in the first 10 games that we managed to go undefeated, I think for me, it's enough to give this manager credit for like next 1.5 years, right? Unless he does something extremely stupid, right? And he starts doing it consistently. If he starts, I don't know, playing Dyer as a striker, right? And he does it like for 5 games straight, then maybe I will like start questioning him. But the things that I saw in those first 10 games, for me, like I saw progression. I saw a fun, enjoyable to watch style of play. I can see in him that he is actually managing this squad as good as he can, as well as he can. Sorry, like it's hard for me to jump on him. He can play only with what's in front of him and with who he can, right? It's not like he's going to suddenly like spawn Jude Bellingham in the middle of the pitch for us, right? I don't even think Jude Bellingham would have helped today with Dyer and Davies in the back, right? But I think this guy is doing his best, and I think he's an enjoyable character. I think he has his principles. I think his style of play is fun, enjoyable. So I just want our fan base to be patient with this shit, because if they turn on him because we lost to City and Villa with Eric Dyer and Ben Davies, then I don't know what people want, right? I don't know what are people's expectations for us to challenge for the league with Ben Davies and Eric Dyer. I think like from the beginning of the season, it was obvious that we are not going to win the league. It was obvious that we will struggle to get into top 4, right? But this start has given us enough time and enough points on the board to actually lose a couple of games right now, especially in the dire situation we are right now. So people, just be patient with this, right? I'm not saying you can't criticize his decisions. I'm not saying you can't criticize the players. Go for it, right? But don't be Ange out because he lost to Wolves with Dyer and Davies. Like, come on, people, just think about it, right?
And there you have it. Stay patient and just get behind the manager. Michael,